The dust rose around Emma Collins' boots as she walked down Willow Creek's only road. Each step was steady, even as her heart felt anything but. Her carpet bag hung heavy in her hand, her fingers gripping it so tightly her knuckles turned white. She kept her chin high, refusing to let the town see her break, not after everything they had done to her. The year was 1876, and the West had promised her freedom. Instead, it had handed her judgment, whispers, and betrayal. 6 months earlier, Emma had arrived full of hope, a young teacher from Boston determined to make a difference. But the town had not welcomed her spirit. The mayor's wife had disliked her from the start. And when Emma refused the mayor's brother, everything changed. Lies spread fast in a place like Willow Creek. Lies were easier to believe than truth, and now no one stopped her. People moved about their morning routines as if she did not exist. Shop doors opened, ranch hands passed by, not one voice called her name. That silence hurt more than the lies ever had. Emma adjusted her bonnet and walked faster. The stagecoach would not come for 3 days, and the nearest town was 30 miles away. It did not matter. Walking away felt better than staying in a place that had broken her spirit. Then she heard it, hoofbeats behind her. She did not turn at first. It was probably just another rancher heading out, but the sound slowed, matching her pace. She felt the presence beside her before she finally stopped, not alone again. The voice was deep, calm, and familiar. Emma turned. Ethan Everett sat tall on his chestnut horse, his broad shoulders outlined against the morning light, and his hat shadowed his face, but she knew those blue eyes. She had noticed them the first day she arrived in town. "Mr. Everett," she said, her tone stiff, "I appreciate your concern, but I can manage." He swung down from his horse with ease, landing beside her like a man who belonged to the land itself. He stood taller than her, but there was no threat in him, only quiet strength. "I don't doubt that," he said, "but 30 miles alone is not something you should face." "I'll take my chances," Emma replied. "They seem better than staying here." Ethan's expression hardened slightly. "I heard what they said about you." Emma looked away. One kind word after months of silence felt almost unbearable. "It doesn't change anything," she whispered. "I'm leaving." "I'm not asking you to stay," he said. She looked back at him, surprised. "Well, I'm asking you to let me ride with you." Emma studied him carefully. He was not like the others. He had never mocked her, never treated her as less. But still she hesitated. "Why?" she asked. Ethan paused as if choosing his words carefully. "Because it's the right thing to do, and because no one else did it." Emma felt something inside her soften just a little. "You take me to Silverdale," she said slowly. "Nothing more. You have my word." After a moment she nodded. He took her bag, secured it to his saddle, and offered his hand. Emma hesitated, then placed her hand in his. His grip was warm and steady, and before she could second-guess it, he helped her up onto the horse. He climbed up behind her, his arms reaching around to take the reins. Emma sat stiffly at first, aware of how close he was, but as the horse began to move, something shifted. For the first time that morning, she did not feel completely alone. They rode in silence for a while. The prairie stretched wide and golden around them. The sky felt endless. Emma glanced back once at Willow Creek, seeing small figures watching her leave. "Let them watch." She turned forward again. She sent it. After an hour, they reached a rise and a large ranch came into view. It was bigger than she expected, strong, steady, built to last. "Everett Ranch," Ethan said. It's beautiful, Emma admitted. As they approached, a woman stepped out onto the porch. She was older, sharp-eyed, but kind. "Mrs. Garcia," Ethan called. "We have a guest." The woman smiled warmly at Emma as if she already knew everything without asking. Inside the house, Emma found something she had not expected. Comfort, clean curtains, soft light, a sense of care. Mrs. Garcia fed her without question, warm food, fresh coffee. Emma had not realized how hungry she was until that moment. For the first time in weeks, she felt human again. Later, Ethan showed her the horses. He introduced her to a gentle gray mare named Penny. Emma smiled as the horse nudged her hand. "She's yours for the journey," Ethan said. Emma looked at him. "You've thought of everything." He shrugged slightly. "It's what you needed." That night, Emma lay in a clean bed staring at the ceiling. She had left Willow Creek behind, but for the first time since the accusations, she did not feel lost. Outside, she could hear Ethan speaking quietly with Mrs. Garcia. "I don't want to leave her alone," he said. Emma closed her eyes, her heart tightening. Not alone again. And those words echoed in her mind as sleep slowly took her. And for the first time in a long while, she wondered, what if leaving Willow Creek was not the end of her story, but the beginning of something she never expected? The morning came soft and golden, the kind of quiet sunrise that made the wide prairie feel almost peaceful. Emma was already awake. She stood by the window, watching the light spread slowly across the land, turning the grass into waves of gold. For a moment, she forgot everything that had happened in Willow Creek. Out here, nothing whispered about her, nothing judged her. "Miss Collins," Mrs. Garcia called gently from the doorway. "Breakfast is ready." Emma turned with a small smile. "Thank you." By the time she stepped into the kitchen, Ethan was already seated at the table with a cup of coffee in his hand. He looked up as she entered, and something in his eyes softened for just a second before he stood. "Good morning," he said. "Good morning." There was a brief pause, the kind that felt full but not uncomfortable. "You look ready for the road," he added. Emma glanced down at the riding clothes Mrs. Garcia had prepared for her. They fit perfectly, practical but still feminine. "I have Mrs. Garcia to thank for that." Mrs. Garcia waved a hand dismissively. "A woman should always be prepared, especially in the West." Breakfast was warm and filling, but Emma barely tasted it. Her thoughts were already on the road ahead, on what came next. They set out soon after. The air was cool, the kind that promised a long day. Emma rode Penny beside Ethan, and the steady rhythm of the horses slowly eased the tension still sitting in her chest. For a while they rode in silence. Then Ethan spoke. "Do you ever regret coming out here?" Emma glanced at him. "No," she said after a moment. "Even now, I don't regret it. Even after what happened." "Yes." Her voice grew quieter because for a little while she felt like she was doing something that mattered. Ethan nodded slowly. "You were?" She looked at him, surprised. "I watched you," he continued, "with the children. You didn't just teach them letters. You made them believe they could be more." Emma felt something warm rise in her chest. "No one else ever said that," she admitted. "They should have." They stopped at midday by a small stream. The water ran clear over smooth stones, and the shade from nearby trees gave them a moment to rest. Emma sat on a rock, removing her gloves and dipping her fingers into the cool water. "Better than Boston?" Ethan asked. Emma smiled faintly. "Boston never had this." He studied her for a moment. Then why go back? The question caught her off guard. I don't know, she said honestly. Because it's safe, I suppose. Because it's what's expected. And what do you want? Emma looked out at the open land. I don't know that either, she whispered. They rode on. As the day passed, the land began to change. The flat prairie gave way to gentle hills, scattered trees, and rocky paths. The sky darkened slowly, clouds gathering in the distance. Ethan noticed it first. We need to pick up the pace, he said. Storm's coming. Emma looked up. The sky had turned heavy, gray, swallowing the blue. They urged the horses forward, yet the wind picked up, sharp and sudden. Then came the rain. At first it was light, then it wasn't. By the time they reached Miller's Crossing, the storm had turned wild. Rain lashed sideways, and the wind howled like it wanted to tear the world apart. Ethan helped Emma down quickly. Get inside, he said. I'll take care of the horses. Emma didn't argue. She ran for the door, pushing it open and stepping into warmth. Inside, the fire crackled loudly, casting orange light across the room. Several men turned to look at her, their expressions curious. A large man behind the counter stepped forward. You need a room. My companion is outside, Emma said, brushing wet hair from her face. We'll need lodging for the night. He nodded. 1 room, 2 beds. Emma hesitated. Before she could answer, the door opened again. Ethan stepped in, soaked but steady. The man recognized him instantly. Everett, didn't expect to see you here. Storm caught us, Ethan replied. The man glanced between them, then nodded again. Room's yours. Upstairs, the room was small but clean. 2 narrow beds, a single window rattling in the wind. Ethan turned toward the door. I'll step out while you change. Emma stopped him. No, you're soaked too. She gestured to a folding screen in the corner. I'll manage. They changed in silence, careful, respectful. When Emma stepped out from behind the screen, Ethan was already dressed, his wet clothes hanging near the stove. For a moment, they just looked at each other. Something had shifted. Dinner downstairs was warm and simple. Stew, bread, coffee. But Emma could feel the eyes on them, whispers, judgment, even here. It doesn't stop, does it? She murmured. Ethan leaned closer. Let them talk. Emma let out a quiet breath. I'm tired of being something people decide for me. You're not, he said firmly. You're exactly who you choose to be. She looked at him again. And this time she didn't look away. That night, the storm raged outside. Inside the small room, they lay in separate beds, the space between them filled with everything neither of them had said. After a long silence, Emma spoke softly. Ethan? Yes? Thank you. For what? For not treating me like I'm broken. There was a pause. You're not broken, he said quietly. You're stronger than anyone I've ever known. Emma closed her eyes. Sleep came slowly, but when it did, it came with a strange kind of peace. Morning arrived clear and bright. It was as if the storm had never happened. Ethan was already gone when Emma woke. She dressed quickly and went downstairs. He returned soon after, carrying a newspaper. There's something you should see, he said. Emma took it. Her hands froze. The headline stared back at her. The accusations, false confession cleared. Her breath caught. They know the truth, she whispered. Ethan watched her carefully. What will you do? Emma didn't answer right away. She folded the paper slowly, her mind racing. I could go back, she said. Take my place again. You could, but I don't know if I want to. Silence stretched between them. Then she looked up at him. What would you do? Ethan held her gaze. I'd go where I felt like I belonged. Emma's heart beat faster. And where is that? Ethan hesitated, then quietly said, and that's something only you can decide. But the way he looked at her, it made her feel like the answer might not be a place at all. The high road climbed slowly through the hills, the air fresh after the storm. The land looked washed clean, brighter somehow, like the world itself had been given a second chance. Emma rode quietly beside Ethan, the folded newspaper resting in her bag like a weight she could not ignore. Her name was cleared. The truth had come out. Willow Creek would welcome her back now. But for the first time since she had arrived in the West, she was not sure she wanted to go back. They rode in silence for a while. The only sound, the steady rhythm of hooves against the damp earth. Finally, Emma spoke. I thought this would make everything simple, she said softly. But it doesn't. Ethan glanced at her. Nothing worth choosing ever is. Emma let out a quiet breath. They were wrong about me. They all were. And now they want me back like nothing happened. They know they were wrong, Ethan said. Do they? Emma asked. Or are they just ashamed they were caught? Ethan didn't answer because they both knew the truth. The trail narrowed as they climbed higher. From the ridge, Emma could see miles of land stretching in every direction, open, endless, free, not like Willow Creek. Ethan, she said after a moment, her voice softer now, what you said last night about belonging. He turned slightly in the saddle. Yeah? Say it again. Ethan hesitated, then spoke carefully. Home isn't always a place. Sometimes it's where or who makes you feel like you belong. Emma felt those words settle deep inside her. She looked out at the horizon, then back at him. And where do you feel like you belong? Ethan held her gaze this time, no hesitation now. With you? The world seemed to go still. Emma's heart beat so loud she was sure he could hear it. You barely know me, she whispered. I know enough, he said. I know you're strong. I know you're kind. I know you stood your ground when it would have been easier to give in. He paused, his voice lowering. And I know I don't want to watch you ride away and pretend it doesn't matter. Emma swallowed hard. Ethan, I didn't come after you just because it was the right thing to do, he continued. I came because I couldn't stand the thought of you leaving alone. Her breath caught. I've watched you since the day you came to town, he said. And these past days, riding with you, talking with you. He shook his head slightly. I don't want this to end in Silverdale. Emma's hands tightened around the reins. Neither did she. That was the truth she had been trying to ignore. What are you asking me? She said quietly. Ethan guided his horse a little closer to hers. I'm asking you to stay, he said. Stay at the ranch. Stay with me. Emma's heart pounded. Stay? How? He took a breath. Not as a guest, not just for a while. His eyes held hers. Stay as my wife. The words hung between them. Emma felt tears rise, but they were not from pain this time. Just days ago, she had been walking out of a town that had broken her. Now she stood at the edge of something she had never even dreamed of. You're asking me to build a life here, she said. Yes, with you. Yes. Emma let out a soft but breathless laugh. This is madness, she whispered. Maybe, Ethan said, but it feels right. She looked at him, really looked at him, at the quiet strength in his eyes, at the way he had stood beside her when no one else had, at the way he saw her, not as a rumor, not as a problem, but as a person, as someone who mattered. Her voice came soft but steady. I don't want to go to Silverdale. Ethan's breath caught. I don't want to go back to Willow Creek either, she continued. Not like this. She took a slow breath. I want to go somewhere I'm not just tolerated, but valued. Ethan didn't move. Then come back with me, he said. Emma smiled through her tears. I already have, she whispered. There was a moment of stillness. Then Ethan reached for her hand. Is that a yes? He asked. Emma nodded. It's a yes. The smile that broke across his face was unlike anything she had ever seen. Slowly, gently, he leaned toward her and kissed her. It was not rushed, not careless. It was a promise. When they pulled apart, Emma laughed softly, the sound light and free. What happens now, she asked. Now? Ethan smiled. We go home. And for the first time, that word felt real. Home? They turned their horses, not toward Silverdale, not toward Willow Creek, but back toward Everett Ranch. The journey back was slower, not because the road was longer, but because neither of them was in a hurry anymore. They talked as they rode about the ranch, about the future, about a small school Emma could build for the children who lived too far from town. You'd really do that? She asked. Ethan shrugged lightly. You change lives, Emma. That matters more than anything I've built. By the time the ranch came into view, the sun was setting low, casting everything in warm golden light. Mrs. Garcia stepped out onto the porch. She took one look at them and smiled. I knew it, she said. Emma laughed, stepping down from her horse. Did you? I always know, Mrs. Garcia replied, pulling her into a warm embrace. Welcome home. Days passed quickly after that. The ranch changed in small ways. Emma's laughter filled the house. Plans were made. A room was turned into a classroom. And for the first time since she came west, Emma felt like she had not just survived. She had found something real. A few weeks later, she stood again on the road to Willow Creek, but this time she was not alone. Ethan stood beside her. The town looked the same, but she didn't feel the same. They offered apologies. They offered her job back. They offered everything they had taken from her. Emma listened, then she sighed. I'm not coming back, she said calmly. And for the first time, she didn't feel the need to explain herself. As they rode away together, Willow Creek faded behind them, not as a wound anymore, but as a chapter that had ended. That evening, back at the ranch, Emma sat beside Ethan under the open sky. Stars stretched above them, endless. You remember what you said that day? She asked softly. Ethan glanced at her. Which part? She smiled. Not alone again. He reached for her hand. Not alone again, he repeated. Emma leaned into him, her heart finally at peace. Never again. And as the night settled over the land, Emma Collins knew one thing with certainty. She had tried to walk out of town alone, but the road had led her somewhere better. Not just to a place, but to a life, and to a man who would never let her face it alone.